Well, like I promised last time, I'm going to be doing a reading of a story I've read before. Multiple times, in fact, so my familiarity with it may lend to a better sounding reading. Now, this is also one that I've been sitting on for a while. Ever since I read it, I've wanted to record it and try my hand at this sort of thing. It's another Octavia OC ship, because I do so love Octavia. And it's also a Clopfic, so if anyone's not into that, I understand if you don't want to listen. But anyway, this is The Show Goes On by Liquid Rainbows. If you're a Clopfic fan, you'll probably be familiar with at least a couple of his stories. They're all really great, and I'm in the camp that it's really sad to see him retire so early, because all his work was really, really great. And of course, you can still find him archived on filmfiction.com, so. As to this story in particular, I think it may be the only one of his that has not yet appeared on YouTube in one form or another, so thanks for taking the time to listen. And of course, the link to this story will be provided below. Anyway, enough rambling, let's get started. Hope everybody enjoys. The Show Goes On by Liquid Rainbows. 2 glasses of wine, table 7, done. Broccoli and artichoke casserole, table 15, done. Cannoli and almonds, table 10, done. Back to the kitchen, more orders. Don't forget to smile. To most, the fancy titles of gourmet dishes would seem like mere gibberish on a piece of paper, but this was certainly not the case with Silver Tray. The pale blue stallion swept across the grand room with skillful precision and in an amazingly timely fashion. He served the orders without hesitation, but always made sure to be polite and look happy. That second part came naturally, since he was quite genuinely happy. Over time, Silver had grown to love his work. It was something of a vocation, what with the silver platter that adorned his flank. Silver had been balancing things on his back ever since he'd learned to walk, and that had proven to be quite an asset. Canterlot, being the high-class city that it was, had shown to be ripe with opportunity for the aspiring waiter, and none were better at the job than Silver Tray. At least that's what the nobles told him. Why else would he have so quickly worked his way through the ranks to where he was today? Where he was, of course, was the Grand Galloping Gala. Silver certainly hadn't been expecting it when he got invited to work at the royal palace on the night of the gala, but there was truly no greater honor he could think of. And so here he was, rushing back and forth from the tables to the kitchen inside the gloriously embroidered main hall of the palace. Decorative streamers draped gracefully over the walls, grand windows hung open, allowing cool air to blow in from the early night. Silver could see an ocean of stars glistening through the void of space. The place was beautiful, everything he could have imagined. The nobility was suitably stuck up, but Silver was used to that, and he knew just how to work around their pretentious exteriors. It just took years of practice. Silver kept his mind occupied well enough with the sights and sounds. Restaurants were one thing, but this was something else. He had never had to wait on such a large crowd before in his life, and there seemed to be interesting ponies everywhere. Wonderbolts to the left, celebrities to the right, one of the princesses straight ahead. Were those the elements of harmony? Table after table, tray after tray, a few greetings here and there, and like this, the night wore on. Unfortunately for Silver, his excitement could only last for so long. He'd seen parties of this type before, on a smaller scale, but this one was only so much more interesting than the others. As a 21-year-old buck, his attention span for this sort of thing wore out a bit quickly. Even being raised in Canterlot, the limits of his appreciation for the finer things could only be stretched so far. When he did start to lose interest, he just made sure to continue his work with the utmost efficiency and skill, never faltering for a moment. Integrity was sort of his virtue. Even so, his mind was growing bored. He had initially been quite thrilled to be here, and in a way he still was, but after a while work became, well, work. Nothing more than a rhythmic pattern, back and forth, of tasks that needed to get done. Still, this was the job of a lifetime, and he had to prove himself capable. Seconds slowly ticked by, turning into minutes and then into hours. Silver never stopped working, but just when he thought the rest of the night would drag on like this, he noticed a group of 4 ponies getting ready on stage at the back of the room. Classical musicians were not uncommon in the wealthier restaurants that Silver had worked in, but this was the gala, which meant this ensemble must be the best of the best. That's when he noticed her. Standing towards the front of the stage, up on her hind legs, was a disinterested-looking mare holding a cello. She had a gray coat, a dark mane, striking purple eyes, and wore a fancy collar around her neck. She stood in a formal manner, but the hind leg stance nonetheless brought attention to the pleasant curvature of her body. Silver broke his concentration from work for only a split second, taking in the sight of the captivating mare, before quickly returning to work. He couldn't help but steal glances over at the stage as the band got ready. Silver was pleased to see that the tide of orders was slowing down some. That would give him more time to pay attention to the ponies up on stage. Especially her. That's when Silver noticed a palace guard standing nearby. It was the same quiet, annoyed-looking guard who had given him a tour of the palace a few days ago. What was his name? Midnight? That sounded right. Silver swept his black mane back and trotted over to him, not having any orders to carry out at the moment. Midnight raised a brow at his approach. "Hey, Midnight!" Silver exclaimed with a cheery smile, which was not at all reciprocated. "I, kind of had a question." "Oh, really? And what might that be?" Midnight replied with a tone of mock interest. "Well, I was wondering if you know who she is," Silver responded, waving a hoof in the direction of the gray mare. "Oh, her," Midnight said with a smirk. "That would be Octavia. She plays at the gala pretty much every year. Why do you care?" Silver stammered with a blush. "No reason." "Sure," Midnight grinned. "No reason." Silver looked down at his hooves, smiling despite himself. "Anyway, Silver, I'll be going now. I think I see Winter." "It was nice knowing you," Midnight said flatly before trotting off to a group of other guards. Silver didn't bother trying to decode what that meant, and instead brought his attention back to the stage. The other band members had just finished getting into place. Octavia closed her eyes and flicked her mane to the side, bringing up the bow with her hoof. In all reality, the music was something in the background, a steady rhythm over the chatter of the crowd, but to Silver was something more. He had drowned out all other noise as soon as Octavia brought her bow across the strings, a rich, deep note seeming to emit throughout the huge room. Before long, the other band members had joined in, creating a masterfully rendered playing of Minuet, a song Silver had heard many times before. The music seemed to flow like a river, pouring from the strings of the instrument and through his mind and body. He had heard this classic song time and time again, but never like this. With time, Silver was able to move again, but in a trance-like state. He fulfilled orders mechanically, never taking his mind off the music. After Minuet came Adagio in G, another captivating piece that haunted Silver to the core. Song after song played, minutes rushing by like seconds. Even as the festivities died down and some of the guests began to leave, they still played on. Finally, the performance correlated into its finale piece, Canon in D. To Silver, it was the most beautiful piece of classical music ever composed, and he had never heard it played so perfectly in his life. Each note reverberated through his heart and soul, each graceful drawing of the bow. He stood still the entire time, having ears only for the music, and eyes only for Octavia. The music seemed to echo through his head, even after the last note was played. Some of the nobles clapped politely. Silver wanted to jump up and down and cheer. Well, I think I'm gonna stop here and just start another video. I don't want to run too far over 10 minutes. So, bye for now, and I'll be back in part 2. See you soon.